Hi guys, this is gsno.com and I'm here with the unboxing of the Vivo X80 Lite. So after testing the Vivo X80 Pro, we have its Lite version, and as usual this is one of the official smartphones of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Now, before we get going, you should probably know that this one is actually a relative of the Vivo V23. It's the same phone, although it's lacking something. That's the dual selfie LED flashes up front. It's still a selfie phone on account of the fact that it comes with a 50 megapixel camera here at the top side, which also offers autofocus and 4K video capture, which is something you don't see every day on a mid-range handset. Now, if you're feeling familiar, that's because this backside can change its color in UV light, just like we had on the other selfie phone Vivo V23 a couple of months ago. The price tag is $400, and this is an unboxing, so let's see what's inside the box. Okay, so a bunch of usual stuff. We got this metal key here used to access the slots. When I say slots, I mean a nano SIM and the micro SD, which also doubles as the second nano SIM. Here we have the warranty card, as well as useful info and a quick start guide, plus a case which is transparent and flexible, and it even has a plug here for the bottom port. Okay, that's that so far. Considering the size of the other box inside, we may have a few surprises. Positive ones, of course. So we go here. It's quite hefty. We start off with what appears to be a charger. Quite a large one. It promises charge up to 44 watts, has an USB-A connector. And then, believe it or not, some companies are still offering headphones. We got this model here, which seems inspired by the AirPods or the EarPods, and it has a connector, 3.5mm jack, that is. And here we have the cable going from USB-C on this side to a USB-A here somewhere. And last but not least, considering the phone itself is lacking an audio jack, you're going to be using this adapter, which goes from USB-C to 3.5mm jack. So there you have it. As some companies struggle to eliminate accessories from the box, Vivo goes all out and offers extra accessories. I mean, companies talk a lot about pollution, but still we're not very sure how much carbon is being saved by the fact that we're not getting certain accessories, or the fact that we are getting them. Anyway, that's about it. That's everything available inside the box. What's for sure is that Vivo is being pretty generous with the accessories provided with this mid-range phone. Okay, so as I said before, sadly this time we are not treated to having a special little UV light to shine upon the phone. A couple of minutes of shining it here would have me putting my finger here, or a coin would leave a mark as this backside changes color. There are two versions of colors, diamond black and the sunrise gold. This is obviously sunrise gold, although in a proper lighting it becomes green blue. Now back to the facade of the phone. I already have an objection. I'm not exactly a huge fan of the teardrop notch. Probably because it has a screen protection applied and there's already some lint being caught here, some dirt in the area of the notch. The screen is very bright, as you can see for yourself. It's a quality AMOLED, but I think it's time to talk about the design still before we get to it. We have a flat frame here made of plastic. The back side is glass, the front side is also glass, with a bunch of bezels which are a bit too thick for my liking, but it's one of the compromises of owning a mid-range handset. Now, if you want measurements, 7.8mm in thickness and 186 grams seems pretty reasonable to me. There's no IP certification, even though the people who, including me, who took out the SIM tray discovered the small cushion or small protection against water leakage and water damage. Now, aside from that, I think it's time to discuss the screen. This one is an AMOLED 6.44 inch, which is a pretty typical size for a Vivo mid-range handset. Once again, this is the Vivo X80 Lite. It has a Full HD Plus resolution, 90Hz refresh rate, and HDR10 Plus support. Plus, it delivers on the promise of 1300 nits of brightness, which is quite courageous if you ask me. That's a lot of brightness. Now, inside we have a CPU, which I feel like we've seen before, a couple of other phones, MediaTek Dimensity 900. it was actually present on the OnePlus Nord CE2, Oppo Reno 6 and the Oppo Reno 7 5G. I mean, Vivo is being pretty generous with the RAM and storage, I'll give it that much. So 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, plus you can expand the RAM with an extra 8 gig from the settings, virtual RAM of course. And believe it or not, we even get a microSD card slot. Now that the innards are all figured out, I think it's time to address the battery that we have here. It's a 4500 mAh unit with 44 watt charging, of course of the wired variety. We are being promised to reach 61% battery in just 30 minutes of usage. As far as the connectivity is concerned, this one is a USB-C 2.0 port. We also have Wi-Fi dual band, there's 5G, there's Bluetooth 5.2, there's GPS, and there's also NFC, which I think we'll have to check here in the settings department. So network and internet, I can already see the NFC, so we can do payments with the handset. For security, you already saw me using the fingerprint scanner in the screen, which is, I would say, decently snappy. And we also have a single speaker here for music at the bottom next to the USB-C port and the SIM tray and the mic next to it. At the top side, just a microphone, and that's about it. Now, camera wise, I would definitely say that the star of the show is this front shooter here. It's a 50 megapixel camera with autofocus, 4K video. It's actually the one taken from the Vivo V23. It has eye autofocus and electronic image stabilization. Sadly, no dual LED flash and no secondary ultra-wide camera. And at the back side, quite generous setup, at least in lens size. 64 megapixel camera, main one, with optical image stabilization and face detection autofocus, plus the smaller 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera for ultra-wide and the 2 megapixel macro camera. There's also the dual or even triple LED flash here and the promise of AI and 4K 30 frames per second capture. With this being a selfie phone, one would expect a lot of camera options, and we're definitely being treated to that. I mean, the more section is pretty generous. We got live photo, pro, double exposure, panorama, time-lapse, documents, high resolution, slow-mo, AR stickers and dual view. This is an interesting mode. I actually wondered about it. I have a bunch of drafts here, which I'm guessing we could save, and a bunch of, I would call them filters, but they're like templates. It's basically a way of creating tutorials. So if you're into video tutorials, this may be the one for you. This is the video department with some extra special stabilization modes. There is the ultra and the regular one. We also have the f aperture if you want to do a bokeh video. And then we have the photo section with HDR, dedicated super macro. We have the portrait section for all your bokeh needs with a bunch of cute filters. Also this beautification area. And of course, those little extras which were actually, I feel, inspired by the collaboration of Zeiss with Vivo on the bigger Vivo X80 handsets. And finally, the night mode, which includes its own set of, well, filters. Okay, so I would say that's about it as far as the camera modes are concerned. I also have a nice surprise for you. I think this may be the first non-Google Pixel phone which I can show you with Android 13 available. So we got Android 13 as an update. Originally, when we put it out of the box, it ran Android 12 with Funtouch OS 12, and here we are with Android 13, Funtouch OS 13. As you can see, we have an extra 8 gigs of RAM and all the goodies related to the privacy and so forth of Android 13. Sadly, I don't see any sort of stacked widgets, just the regular ones. I may be wrong, but here we are. I don't see the stacked ones, still not available for all companies. What I do see is the UI color customization, which can be applied in a more detailed manner compared to the previous Android version, drawing the color from the background. Now, aside from that, this is the quick settings area, which I still feel looks a bit old to me compared to what we're getting nowadays. There's smart mirroring, there's an ultra game mode, digital well-being is part of the package. The ultra game mode has a game sidebar, have an esports mode, sound quality and effects, frame rate priority, lots of features for the gamers. So, considering we have a potent selfie camera and gaming features, it's obviously a phone for the youngsters. Now, as far as the apps are concerned, the only one which draws my attention has got to be the iManager. It's basically your one-stop hub for the well-functioning of the phone, optimization, space cleanup, security scan, and also a bunch of utility tools. Encryption, app clone, phone cooling, and battery management. Nice to see we have a dedicated tool for phone cooling. Wouldn't hurt to see it on other handsets out there. Now once again, this is a pretty bright screen. As you can see, I'm having a hard time setting it up so it's not too bright or too dark, but I'll be back with more pretty soon. It's easy to handle on account of the fact it's flat. A lot of promise from the selfie camera. I look forward to filming in 4K with it. Of course, there's the gimmick of the color changing backside under UV light. Not so much UV these days, it's the winter after all. Don't forget the price, $400. Goodbye.